In recent history, the American dream has been presented as a concept that all individuals, regardless of social status, finances, or race, can achieve wealth and prosperity in the United States. This nuanced and multi-phased concept of the American dream is represented through both the 2016 film The Big Short and the 1925 novel The Great Gatsby. Despite being set in vastly different eras, both mediums explore the theory that, on the surface, the American dream is a great idea, symbolizing that anyone can achieve immense wealth and social status despite potential limitations. However, beneath the surface, there's a harsh contrast, revealing that this materialistic approach to life can be draining and unfulfilling. The Great Gatsby initially portrays the American dream as an attainable idea, one that all Americans can achieve. This is first illustrated in Fitzgerald's portrayal of Jay Gatsby. His parents were shiftless and unsuccessful farm people. His imagination had never really accepted them as his parents at all. This quote from Chapter 6 of The Great Gatsby uses the technique of imagery to display how poor Gatsby's upbringing was. The quote uses the language, his imagination had never really accepted them as his parents at all, characterizes Gatsby as a man who aims to punch above his weight and aim for financial success. Fitzgerald displays Gatsby's wealth through a description of his home given by Nick Carraway. His house was even more elaborate than I expected, a cheerful, red and white Georgian colonial mansion overlooking the bay. The use of the technique personification, cheerful, amplifies the opulent setting that Gatsby is surrounded by. It elucidates clearly that Gatsby has achieved the dream and is living his life lavishly. In contrast, The Great Gatsby also depicts the other side to the American dream. The idea that this materialistic and validation-seeking approach to life can be unfulfilling for oneself. This is illustrated in The Great Gatsby when Jay Gatsby throws his huge parties. They physically appear to be vibrant and thriving social gatherings, but in reality, Gatsby only hosts such events in attempts to win over Daisy Buchanan and gain social status, rather than host them to build relationships. In Chapter 3, Nick Carraway comments on this idea. I believe that on the first night I went to Gatsby's house, I was one of the few guests who had actually been invited. People were not invited. They went there. The quoted ironic language highlights the superficiality present at Gatsby's gatherings. Gatsby's funeral further emphasizes the point, when Nick Carraway said nobody came, suggesting that Gatsby didn't have many close friends who attended his parties. The quotes further characterize Gatsby as a man with an insatiable drive for social prestige and Daisy Buchanan's love, and how although he has achieved financial success, he was still deeply dissatisfied at the point of his death. The Big Short, although set in wildly different circumstances, presents similar themes to that of The Gatsby. It too explores both sides of the dream. While The Big Short does display the allure and the consequences of the dream, it has a heavy focus on how the dream affects one's morality and the idea that for there to be rich, there must be poor. The Big Short briefly displays a positive portrayal of the dream. Montages of bankers working and analyzing computers and stocks. The technique of fast-paced music and fast cuts between shots creates an environment that appears to be filled with opportunity and excitement, presenting the dream as a prosperous idea. In the beginning of The Big Short, the American dream was characterized by ambition and innovation, instead of financial success and greed. As the film progresses, it delves into the more consequential themes associated with the pursuit of wealth, how both personal morals and greater society are negatively affected by individuals' pursuit of the dream. Multiple times throughout the film, the characters are faced with tough and moral decisions. The insatiable desire for financial success often corrupts these characters when it comes time to make these decisions. An example of this is in The Big Short is through the character Mark Baum. Mark despises the financial sector. He's disgusted by the immorality present on Wall Street and how bankers often capitalize on the financially vulnerable. This is illustrated in the scene where we are first introduced to Mark, where he rants to his anger management group about the immorality of bankers. The lack of background noise and the close shot elucidates his intense emotion. Despite this, Mark's team decides to short the market upon discovering the housing bubble and profit of the crisis. This decision from Mark shows how the dream is morally corruptible and can force avaricious behavior from benevolent people. As well as corrupting one's morals, the American dream is also represented as coming at the downfall of others. In The Big Short, the devastating effects of the 2008 GFC are highlighted throughout. After Jamie and Charlie make large profits off their CDS, Ben Rickett informs them that they have no profit off it will have a detrimental effect on the lower class Americans. The quote, every 1% employment goes down, 40% of 40,000 people will die. The use of the over-the-shoulder shot intensifies the scene, and the close confrontation between characters intimidates Jamie and Charlie. The quote from Ben Rickett, banking, it reduces people to numbers, is a metaphorical description of how dehumanizing the banking industry is, prioritizing the wealth over the greater good of society. Both The Gatsby and The Big Short display both sides of the dream. the idea that it's achievable for all, but also how the pursuit of wealth can corrupt oneself and not fulfill one's wants. The Gatsby has a deeper focus on how the success in achieving the dream can be unfulfilling and leave those successful unhappy with themselves through Jay Gatsby. Gatsby has achieved the American dream, having come from a poor background to living an extravagant life. However, his inability to win over Daisy Buchanan's love leaves him dissatisfied. The Big Short has a larger focus on the wider effect of the dream and how it often comes at the expense of those financially vulnerable. The Big Short demonstrates how the pursuit of wealth can corrupt one's morals and cause them to make uncharacteristic decisions.